I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
Comprehensive approach is defunding the police, which is what this says. The entire time. This is so typical of what the Democrats do now. After your policies have transparently failed and led to the deaths of millions of Americans, now you say you've never heard of defunding the police. Your own report recommends it on page after page after page. Let me ask about something else you say. Here's what you say we ought to invest in. Instead of funding the police, here's what we ought to invest in. We need to invest in programs that acknowledge the need for safe space initiatives led by lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, trans, and gender non-conforming people. What's two-spirit?
Well, look, I don't know exactly. You guys are pulling some interesting quotes.
This is from your report.
If you look at the report, the focus is on investing in violence intervention, outreach workers.
What is you say that you shouldn't invest in the police, but we ought to invest in two-spirit community programs that acknowledge two-spirit.
Look, we are not going to discriminate against that. We're not going to discriminate against any nonprofit that
what
wants
is
to
a
help
two-spirit?
Prevent violence.
What is two-spirit? You say don't fund the police, but do fund programs that create safe spaces for two-spirit people. What is? I just want to know. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
Well, I honestly, I'm not completely aware of the language or
you wrote the report.
How that was written. But what I'm telling you is that what
is a two-spirit individual? I mean, really, this is your policymakers' playbook. You are the witness called by the Democrats on this committee, so I assume you reflect their views. Well, you don't want to fund the police. You want to fund safe spaces for two-spirit individuals. What is a two-spirit person?
I feel like I'm.
Nobody knows what the fuck a two-spirited person is because it's made up. It doesn't exist.
Looking at a two-faced individual because you talk about reducing.
Oh no, sir!
Violence.
You're looking at somebody who's reading you your own words, and I'd like to hear an answer.
Programs.
Here's the answer. The answer is you don't have any solutions. You want to invest in gobbledygook and take away money from police officers who actually keep our communities safe. And when you're called on the record, you deny it. Comprehensive approach is defunding the police, which is what this says.
The entire time.
This is so typical of what the Democrats do now. After your policies have transparently failed and led to the deaths of millions of Americans, now you say you've never heard of defunding the police. Your own report recommends it on page after page after page. Let me ask about something else you say. Here's what you say we ought to invest in. Instead of funding the police, here's what we ought to invest in. We need to invest in programs that acknowledge the need for safe space initiatives led by lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, trans, and gender non-conforming people. What's two-spirit?
Well, look, I don't know exactly. You guys are pulling some interesting quotes.
This is from your report.
If you look at the report, the focus is on investing in violence intervention, outreach workers.
What is you say that you shouldn't invest in the police, but we ought to invest in two-spirit community programs that acknowledge two-spirit.
We are not going to discriminate against that. We're not going to discriminate against any nonprofit that
wants
to help
us prevent
violence.
What is two-spirit? You say don't fund the police, but do fund programs that create safe spaces for two-spirit people. What is? I just want to know. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
Well, I honestly, I'm not completely aware of the language or
you wrote the report.
How that was written. But what I'm telling you is that what
is a two-spirit individual? I mean, really, this is your policymakers' playbook. You are the witness.
You know, it's hilarious. This whole two-spirit bullshit is like some Canadian native nonsense. What they're doing is what we call the Black Army Initiative. They basically peel apart anyone who considers themselves as marginalized, anyone who feels inferior to white people, and they band them together like a band of criminals that are trying to do the right thing, kind of like the A-Team. I apologize. That is my landscaper who decides to come start landscaping while I'm doing videos.
Called by the Democrats on this committee, so I assume you reflect their views. Well, you don't want to fund the police. You want to fund safe spaces for two-spirit individuals. What is a two-spirit person?
I feel like I'm looking at a two-faced individual because you talk.
He didn't ask you about two-faced. He asked you about two fucking spirits. But he doesn't know. when did this all start? When did all the black people just become gay?
About
Oh,
reducing
no, sir.
violence.
You're looking at somebody who's
You're also
reading you
speaking
your
out
own
against
words, and I'd like to hear an
violence
answer.
programs.
Here's the answer. The answer is you don't have any solutions. You want to invest in gobbledygook and take away money from police officers who actually keep our communities safe. And when you're called on the record, you deny it. It's a comprehensive approach is
that
defunding
law
the police,
enforcement is a
which
part
is
of
what
the
this
ecosystem
says.
the entire time.
You would think that this guy up here talking to Senator Hawley is black. He is not. He is gay. So you would assume, because of his color, that he's representing a black community. He is not. Which is why nothing in his plan is about actually stopping the black murders, where you can prevent black people from killing other black people in his community. Because it's not his community. His community is the gay community. That's why everything these new blacks are proposing directly would benefit gays and pedophiles. When they use language like a safe space, no one's beating them up, no one's bashing them or hurting them. They are only getting unalive when they try to pretend to be women and they try to trick men and then extort men and blackmail men. Then there's consequences. The only other thing they need a safe space for is safe from prosecution when they are caught with children. I'll say it again. They need a space that is safe for them to break the law without being prosecuted. The law they want to break is statutory rape, and they do want to have relations with children without being prosecuted, because they see prosecution for statutory rape or for pedophilia as persecution. Prosecution in their minds is persecution because in their imagination and in their minds, it could be in their heart, they can't change who they are. But the same way, a killer could not come to us and say, look, in my heart of hearts, I really enjoy, stabbing and killing people. I can't change who I am. Please accept me. We would never affirm a killer's identity. If that's what makes a guy get hard, is going to killing somebody, we would never say, well, it's kind of his bisexuality. I guess we should bend the law to, make this person feel safe. We're not doing it. We're not going to do it. Now, the odds of it eventually happening were higher under Biden and Harris because these are liberal, left-leaning policies. Decriminalization of assault and sexual assault of minors, that's a part of the liberal agenda. There's nothing about black people in there. I try to explain to people is that if there is a Trojan horse to push the pedophile, trans, and gay agenda, it's not a Trojan horse, because on the head of the horse is a battering ram. The black equality bullshit, because blacks have the same rights and are equal to everybody else, but they still talk about black rights. That's that bullshit they put. That's the battering ram that was weakening the walls of society. Now they've bust down a hole in the wall of society, and you're gonna always see a black man that's gay or a bald black woman or whatever. And they're basically trying, now that they busted a hole in society's walls, they're going to use that to bring in everything else. So it sounds like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to stop it all. I'm not going to just say, well, we want to help these people. Help that. That's not helping them. It's enabling criminals and people that hurt children. They're just using the blacks to do it because, remember, they don't see race. So, yeah, you might see a white trans person. They're not white anymore. They're trans. So when they're speaking out against white supremacy, they're aligning themselves with the black community, and they use the black community as a battering ram to sneak in all of their sick bullshit. And until people understand what's happening and recognize it, everyone's going to be just as confused as Senator Hawley is here as to what's happening. What do you mean two-spirit? What do you mean? Well, why, when we're asking you for initiatives on how to help the community, you're talking to us about gay stuff? This is why. I just explained it to you. I'm going to keep explaining it to you. I don't know how else to put it. They are no longer, they're different colors in the LGTB, but they're not white, they're not black, they're literally LGTB. So, and they despise straight people, whether you're black, whether you're white, they don't like you. That's why they want to see stuff happen to you. They want you to be victims of crime. They want you to go to prison. They don't care. They're not a part of your community. They're a part of a separate community. You just think they're with you because they look similar to you, and you're wrong. That's why when this guy's every suggestion, a safe space, what does that mean? That's pedophile language. A safe space is the same type of language a pedophile would use. Another phrase that they would use is love is love. Love is love, Rico. Love, you can love anybody. I'm like, really? Even children? Then they don't want to have to talk with me no more. Why? If the answer is no, just say no. See, there's a group, right, called Gays for Groomers. They're like the only ones who are literally not actively.
Ace needs to get the out of California. My name is Maybe. I'm running for state.
Gays Against Groomers. They had to come up with a completely separate organization just because they wanted to let the world know all gays are not grooming pedophiles. A lot are. There's a small few of us who are not, and we're kind of trying to start a movement to protect children. That's how rampant this is in that community. It's all about kids. A safe space to do what? Not just to live in, but to groom and mess with kids without being prosecuted. That's the only thing. So, personally, I don't remember what year everybody black became gay. I'm trying to figure it out. I know it was after Obama. I don't remember people being gay. I don't remember black people being that gay before Obama. I'm trying to think. 2012. I remember when Gaddafi died. Was everybody gay back then? No. Men were still dating women, getting girls pregnant, having going out to parties and clubs. I think everything started getting really gay. Started actually bumping into and seeing a lot of black trans people or men dressed as women. Because they're always black. I don't really see a lot of, or Spanish now. I see a lot of Latinos doing it. Probably 2017, 2018. But then it started to be getting super obvious. I remember I was living in downtown LA. Lockdown had already started. And there was a market downstairs from where I live. I live above a club. So there was like a little market that some guy had just opened. I'm like, wow, they're opening something during the lockdown. Everything was closed. But it was a market, so they could be open. I remember walking in there. And there was an obvious man, hairy as fuck, short. It looked like Danny DeVito if Danny DeVito had like a gay son. And he's hairy as shit. He's wearing all black, but he's like trying to pretend that he's a girl. And like, nobody really said anything. They just were like still just going up to the counter, buying stuff. And I'm like, wow, I've never actually seen one in the wild, in person. But here it was, just standing there at a checkout. And it was just so strange to me. And then it's like ever since then, probably in 2020, I'm just noticing. I mean, I had a lot of black friends. I'm from LA. A lot of people I knew are black. Were they all gay? And it seems like even ones who I was confident would definitely be against pedophilia and all the weird stuff with kids, they're now saying, like, they're sharing racist memes about how we should kick white people out. And I'm like, do it. Come, if this is stolen land, right? Come get your shit back in blood. If you don't have the balls to do it, why are you posting it? That's very feminine. It's very gay of you to do that. Like, well, where did this all come from? And it's like, you know, you start realizing that in their mind, there's a war against white people. And they're trying to basically build alliances, and they're conditioning themselves to be more and more tolerant of things that we would have found abhorrent, like child abuse, child molestation, men dressing up as women, pretending to be women, walking to a girl's bath. Now I'm starting to question how many of my black male friends, daughters, if their little girl was in a woman's bathroom, if he's seen a man dressed as a woman, I wonder now how many would see a man walk into that bathroom and just wouldn't do anything because they'll be afraid to offend him. You know, 10 years ago, you know, that person wouldn't have made it out of that bathroom alive. You know, that's how serious people were about protecting kids. But now I don't think that's there anymore. I think they would just, you know, do mental gymnastics and, well, equality and love is love. And if you stop him from going in there, that's white supremacy and blah, blah. I can see now I have to question it all. I mean, I'm looking at this grown ass man here, and he's just pushing all the gay stuff, nothing about the black community and how to keep black people from killing each other. And then you realize, well, he's not black, he's gay. And his agenda completely goes against yours. He's not even on your same page, and he hates America. He hates the United States. He doesn't consider himself American unless he's in immigration trying to get back into the country. Then he'll consider himself American, but they don't like the flag. They don't like the Constitution. Totalitarian. That's why I said separation. Separation, when I suggest separation, that's me being generous. I know what it's going to require for stability. Separation is me being charitable. They want a conflict. I've been trying to figure out ways to avoid the conflict. So what I've told people is, if you're disgruntled, you don't believe in what the country stands for anymore, don't do like Carmelo and stay. When someone asks you to leave, politely leave. This is not the country for you. You do not share the values that this country was built on. There are other countries where you don't have to live under Trump. You don't have to live under a constitution. You don't have to worry about people having guns. You don't have to even worry about white people. You can go, there's countries that have no laws. Lawlessness. You can go live your life. You can do whatever. And they don't probably have laws against protecting kids. You might like it there. But here, there's two boxes we have for you. One has bars on it. It's made of metal. The other one is made of pine. You don't have to choose those two boxes. You can choose a flight and get the fuck out of here. You can leave. Now, telling the people who built the country, who are the majority of the country, they should leave. Well, no, make them. But don't make them make you. They've already been making you. Why do you think they build boxes? If there's a war, especially after 2021, when what they made you do with the mandates, you lost the war already. While you can still leave, evacuate. These people are not going to create safe spaces for you to abuse their children. That's a pipe dream. And letting Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum convince you they can change American culture enough to allow that, they played you for your support. And they are not going to be able to do that.
Defunding the police, which is what this says
the entire time.
This is so typical of what the Democrats do now. After your policies have transparently failed and led to the deaths of millions of Americans, now you say you've never heard of defunding the police. Your own report recommends it on page after page after page. Let me ask about something else you say. Here's what you say we ought to invest in. Instead of funding the police, here's what we ought to invest in. We need to invest in programs that acknowledge the need for safe space initiatives led by lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, trans, and gender non-conforming people. What's two-spirit?
Well, look, I don't know exactly. You guys are pulling some interesting quotes.
This is from your report.
If you look at the report, the focus is on investing in violence intervention, outreach workers.
What is you say that you shouldn't invest in the police, but we ought to invest in two-spirit community programs that acknowledge two-spirit
Look, we are not going to discriminate
what is that?
We're not going to discriminate against any nonprofit that
What
wants
is
to
a
help us
two-spirit?
prevent violence in
What
our
is
community.
two?
So what he's saying is we're not going to discriminate against any marginalized group that'll give us money and join our cause in this imaginary fight against white Americans. That's what he's saying. Why people allow people who despise and hate them so much to live next to them in their country and pretend to be tolerant, that we did it for a long time. We're not going to continue to do it. The good thing is people like Ilhan Omar, who are generals of this black army, we are going to be removing them. Don't know what's going to happen with AOC, but these are all people where if we lose the country, we don't have a constitution anyway. So we're going to have to suspend some parts of it or temporarily turn things off to preserve what we have. You're going to have to choose between the two evils. I'll take the lesser of the two evils. Temporary suspension over permanently losing. Once we start compromising to the point where we're willing to sacrifice our children for peace, we're willing to sacrifice our children to the Democrats and to the left and to the pedos, where we'll give them our children to stop the assassinations, that's when we've lost. And we're not going to ever get to that point.
Spirit. You say don't fund the police, but do fund programs that create safe spaces for two-spirit people. What is? I just want to know. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
Well, I honestly, I'm not completely aware of the language or
You
the
wrote the
spirit of how that was
report?
written. But what I'm telling you is that
how can you write a report with something in it and you don't know what it is? Doesn't that mean you didn't actually write the report? Doesn't that mean you have no idea what's in it? They just put a black face to be the person to represent it because you're the battering ram. Joy Reid's the battering ram. Ilhan Omar battering ram. Kamala battering ram. But see, what Kamala was the battering ram was HIPAA laws and protections that would make you have to test certain products before introducing them to the public. They used Kamala to break that down, and she got her people, or not really her people, but her followers, to participate in an experiment. Like I said, a lot of these problems will be gone in the next couple of years anyway. A lot of them. But in the meantime, we because I think in the government is moving like we have nothing to lose because we have nothing to fear. The people you would have to worry about doing all the protesting and having to deal with, the government knows we don't have to play nice with them anymore because we won't have to play with them anymore, period, pretty soon. Regardless of what anyone says, the vax was safe and effective. They just didn't tell you exactly who exactly it was safe for and what was the intended effect. Because if you don't know what the effect is supposed to be, how can you determine what the effectiveness is? Being that I keep score and I understand what the agenda is now, I would say it was highly effective. Go to my Safe and Effective Podcast Instagram page. I keep tally, and you can too. Share the video. If you have any thoughts, I'm more than happy to hear them. Trump was the only one making any suggestions about how to keep black people from killing each other in these neighborhoods. These other black leaders are worried about gay stuff because they're gay. They're not blacks. So Josh Hawley understands it. He wanted to make a big deal to point this out, and I'm glad he did. And it's just more context to the points I've been making for 3 years now. I just wasn't as vocal. I speak on Instagram all the time, right? But I don't even share these I don't share these YouTube videos on my Instagram because mainly I'm censored to death. I can't even upload videos right now. I can upload pictures, but no videos. I can't go live for 350,000 days or whatever because people like me, it's kind of like we have a sort of a knack for being able to explain things in a simple form. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a complex thinker, but I try to put things in layman terms for people to understand. And people like me, they don't really want talking to people because then you'll understand. And once you understand, you'll change. That's the whole purpose of speaking. That's what people do. We adjust our thoughts. I remember a friend of mine was the one who told me, hey, what's your problem with Trump? I never thought about it. I just repeated what everybody else was saying. And he was like, well, look at the people that are saying all this bad stuff about Trump. You ever notice that they're all gays? Like, you'll see them and they're white, but notice they don't have any kids or a husband. They're gay. I started looking at their lifestyle of the people who were telling me all this horrid stuff about Trump, and they were all Don Lemons. Just different shades. They were all fucking Don Lemons. Imagine me letting a gay man tell me what to think. A man who can't even whoop me, telling me what to do, telling me what to believe and what to think. Like I'm not smart enough to process information and decide for myself what to believe. Never been so insulted in my life, but it just took one person talking to me, changed everything. Started me on this trajectory. I just wish I had talked to him sooner. I wasted years of my life hating a guy who I had never met and who actually had the best interest for my bottom line in mind the whole time. And I never listened to him, never even listened to a Trump speech until after my friend made me aware. I'm embarrassed by that. So, well, anyway, like and subscribe, share the video. I'll be back in a couple more minutes. We got a bunch of topics today. So I'll be going live again in a little bit on YouTube, but we're on 6, 7 different platforms right now. So watch me wherever you want to. The Single Boyfriend on YouTube or Right Wing Rico. I'll be back shortly. Thank you.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.